Welcome to the World United. Welcome to the World United.
Laura Schiff-Jack, the founder of the Compassion Code Academy. Today she'll be talking on how self-compassion helps you become the compassionate leader of your home and your life. Laura Jack is the author of the #1 bestseller, The Compassion Code, How to Say the Right Thing When the Wrong Thing Happens. Teaches compassionate communication and how we can relate to one another more effectively during the challenging moments in life. Her mission is to cultivate a culture of compassion, starting with self, and to create a better understanding of loss and its accompanying grief. Thank you, Laura, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here. It's such a pleasure and a privilege. So, yay. I feel so honored to be included in this and also to see some familiar and then some new faces here. So thank you. I'm really honored to talk about this subject today because I feel like, while the world feels in sometimes chaos and falling apart, I also feel like what I'm so proud of and grateful for is that people are talking about hard subjects like grief and the need for us to come together and rise together and things that maybe we weren't really willing to talk about before, or at least not in my sphere. And so I feel grateful that in spite of the hardship that so many of us are facing, we are willing to have a conversation. And the work that I've been doing for the last just over a decade has been about grief and healing your heart through loss. And loss doesn't just have to be about death. Well, it can be. It can also be the loss of our hopes, dreams, and expectations, what we wish were different, better, and more. And also, as my favorite definition of grief that we use in the grief recovery world is the conflicting feelings that come at the end of or change in a familiar pattern of behavior. So I'm going to say that last one again, because it's really important to notice the conflicting feelings. So it's not just the sad, bad, terrible feelings that come when things change or when we go through heartache. It's actually the conflicting feelings that come when things change at the end of a familiar pattern of behavior. So let's use COVID as an example. COVID has created, I kind of like to think of it as like we've just picked off the scab of grief, and now all of our other grieving experiences have been exposed, which is why so many of us are in so much pain that feels uncomfortable and unrecognizable, is that we might have been holding it together or pretending we were fine or just being strong, which to me just is pretending you're fine, for a long time. And now with COVID, we have a lot of conflicting feelings because it's an end of a lot of familiar patterns of behavior. We are no longer able to just hug our friends and family members. We're not able to walk into a store or a restaurant and ask for what we need. We are having to change so many of our old patterns, and we're also unable to do some of the things that bring us the most joy. We're also unable to do some of the things that give us the best distractions from our real feelings. And so for me, this is an opportunity, even though it's a painful one, it's an opportunity for growth and for healing on so many levels, because COVID is representing a change in many familiar patterns of behavior. And while there is devastation, heartache that we can't say goodbye to family and friends or go to funerals and memorial services, that there's fear around, will I get sick? Will I make somebody else sick? There's also gratitude of reconnecting with our children and seeing people like fathers playing in the street with their kids, where maybe before they were working for 10 to 12 hours a day and they didn't get to play in the street with their kids at 9 a.m., right? So there's a lot of changes and recognition of new priorities that maybe we didn't have the time to even notice before. And now we can't do some of the things that used to distract us, even things like travel. I love traveling more than anything in the world. I love the world. I've lived all over the world. I miss traveling. And staying still kind of forces us to look at some things a little bit differently that maybe we didn't look at before. So the stillness, staying home, not having anywhere to go. It's like you talk to your friends, you're like, what are you doing this weekend? Ha 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 ha. That's a funny question. It's like, what do you think I'm doing? Right. And so we're grieving not getting to travel, but for the first time ever, we're kind of all in the same boat, that we're all grieving. And whether we've experienced the loss of someone we love, the heartbreak of a breakup or a divorce, an estrangement from children, those are other grieving experiences we're having. And grief is ever present in our society right now. We are grieving. And the beauty of grief is that it helps us understand that everyone has a story. So the best thing that we can do with understanding grief is to recognize and appreciate that everyone has a story, including you, including me. We all do. And not comparing and despairing, because saying somebody has it worse than I do, mine's not enough, is diminishing our own experience and kind of justifying away why we have feelings that aren't good. I should be grateful because other people have it worse than I do. Other people may have it worse than you do. And it's very valid to honor their experience. And you're the only one who's living in your own body, in your own experience. And so yours is also valid. Now, does that take away from anybody else's grief? We can all experience our own grief at 100%. So self-compassion is about relating kindly to ourselves and recognizing that we too have a story, that our story and our grief is also valid. And while our experiences of the world are unique, our feelings are universal. We all have experienced heartache. We have all experienced disappointment, overwhelm, curiosity, devastation, concern, fear. You name the feeling, I think we'd all raise our hands and say, yep, yep, yep. Now, what brought us to that feeling might be different, and that's okay. What I rejoice in is recognizing that as human beings, we all experience universal feelings. So when we're trying to come together and heal our divided world, and sometimes what feels like a hateful world, when we remember that every human being has feelings and a story, it's a lot easier to be compassionate. And it has to start with ourselves. It has to start with validating that your story is also important to you, that your feelings are also okay. An exercise that I do with a lot of my clients is something called vent gratitude. So I always say grief has to come before gratitude, because otherwise gratitude is just a box that we check saying we were grateful today, right? So vent gratitude. So say that I were to invite Kaylin to be at a vent gratitude. I would say, Kaylin, can I share? I really need to vent some stuff to you. And you'd say, sure. And I see her, she nods her head, of course. So I would set a timer, because creating a safe container around a vent helps it feel less of a complain session, right? So I'm going to vent. And at the end of my vent, 5 minutes, if I need a little more time, I might say, hey, I need another minute or two. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to spill it out. And my Kaylin here is going to have a non-judgmental listening ear. She's just going to say, thank you for sharing. In our old world, she'd say, would a hug be helpful? And I'd say, yes, I need a hug. Now she might say, hey, would a virtual hug be helpful? And she might offer that to me as well. Okay. Then once I've done my vent, I say, okay, now I'm going to share my gratitude. So I'd set the same 5-minute timer. And now I'd tell you all the things that are good and going well. But I can't go to gratitude first. I actually have to get it all out. Kind of like Stephen, when he's throwing this anger and this rage and this frustration, all those feelings, he's throwing it to Dee and she's catching it and she's letting it be stardust. First, she has to let it out. He has to get it out there, right? And then we can have gratitude. Thank you for sharing, Stephen, that beautiful anger. Thank you for sharing that passion, that frustration, all those human things that are so real and so valid, right? Because the worst thing we can do is shut people down. Because guess where it goes when we shut it down? Back inside. And guess what creates disease? Guess what creates heartache and isolation? It's doing it alone. So when we say, no, yours isn't valid, we say, okay, and then we hide. And then we try it with someone else. And they say, you should be grateful. You should feel honored that your mother lived 25 years for your life. Well, but I wanted 25 more years. When people die at 100, there's still grief. But they lived a good life. Well, yeah, they did. And now I got used to having them around, and it really sucks that they're gone, right? That is also valid, right? And the other thing is that we often lose our identity when we lose loved ones, because we're like, well, who am I now without being a caregiver? Who am I now without having a mother? Who am I now without being a wife or a mother or any of those other things that we lose? Or I'm grieving because I didn't get to have the wedding that I wanted because of COVID, or I didn't get to have the memorial service I wanted to have. Also valid. We don't have to take anything away. So in my book, The Compassion Code, I talk about when somebody shares, we say, thank you for sharing. And if we want to offer anything else, we just say, that sounds tough. You seem angry or frustrated, but not from judgment, from curiosity, from compassion. And sometimes we have to start with ourselves. So one of the best ways for me to do this when I don't know who to turn to with all of my big feelings, I'm lucky now, I have a really good network. But if you don't, the best thing you can do is you can get out a piece of paper and you can scribble that stuff down. You just rage into that paper. You just say all the shit that you hate and everything that you wish were different, and you just write it down. One of the things I like to do is I like to get my paper, get my pen, and I like to scribble right where I'm like writing so angry, I'm so angry. And then I turn it over and I do it on the other side of the page. And then I turn it over again and I do it on that side. And like, I can't even read my writing by the end of it because it doesn't even matter. I just had to explode it out of myself. And then when I'm all done, I rip that shit apart. I pull my headphone out. I rip it out. I rip that shit apart. And if I'm in a safe state, I can burn that shit if I want to, or I can put it into the shredder and I just let it go. And then I thank myself for being so vulnerable, so honest, and so free. And then I like to do the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you, to myself over and over again. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And I repeat it until I feel peace. So self-compassion means that your feelings are allowed, that they're valid, and you just have to find the right audience to hold them and receive them for you. I feel like there's a reason that Dee and Stephen were right before me, because it feels so aligned that we have to have a safe place to put our feelings so that they don't have to create disease inside of us. And I want to show you all a quick diagram of something that I like to teach in my Compassion Code Academy. So just let me see real quick. So this is the old way. I call this the me, we, us. Okay. So can you all see my screen okay? Yeah. Can you see the me, we, us on the screen? Yes, D, yes. Okay. So on the bottom, are you seeing the old way? You seeing the old way? Okay, good. So at the bottom is me. So that's always going to be me, right? And then if we're looking at the family unit, it might be my partner, my spouse, or the person who's helping me raise my children, okay? Then there's the us, which is the whole family and potentially even into the extended family. I also teach this to organizational leaders. So the me is still me, the we is me and my team, and the us is our organization at large or the people we serve, okay? And the problem with the old way is, like, if you look at that, the me is pretty wobbly. We're putting the me last, right? So here's the new way. So give me a sec. I'm going to do a new screen share. Okay. So here's the new way. The new way says, I'm at the bottom still, but I'm the foundation of the pyramid. I'm going to fuel myself. I'm going to love myself. I'm going to give myself self-compassion, self-care, all the good things. And then what happens? I get to be better for the we. I get to be better for my partner. or my mom or whoever's helping me raise my children, right? And then the us, in this case, the family, my children, they're not first, but they are still honorable guests at the table who I get to honor and serve and love and recognize as the future. But I'm full. So just like a ring goes into that cute little box with the big, pillow, it's like my kids are the ring and we are the pillow that gets to cushion them and love them, right? Instead of putting myself last, I put myself first, because when I am full, when I am on fire, when I am alive, I am a great example. I am a kind mother. I am a good person. I am a great service provider. I am a great role model for these young people. And my partnership is just on fire because I am taken care of. And I'm not waiting for my partner to do it. I'm going to fill myself up. And then I'm better for my partner. And I'm encouraging of them to take care of themselves too, whatever that looks like. So the new yes, the new way is I have to take care of myself. That is not selfish. It is necessary. And then our partnership is better. And then our team is better. So if I'm looking at it from an organizational standpoint, I take care of myself. I'm then better able to work with my team, my employees, my bosses, whoever. And then we are able to serve the people we serve much more effectively. But it's almost like icing on the cake instead of, oh, but we have to think of the children first. It's like, yeah, but then you're giving from an empty shell. Nobody wants your backwash. We want a full cup. We want full energy. We want a filled up water bottle. We want you to be full and happy and healthy and alive and vibrant, because when you are, everyone else benefits. So self-compassion is the key. And what lies under self-compassion is recognizing and honoring your story, your feelings, and the validity of it all. Because when you recognize your own story and say, I've been through a lot and I'm pretty amazing that I made it here and that I'm alive, that I'm doing well, then we can look at somebody else and be like, damn, they've been through a lot. And look at how incredible they're going on this journey. They're willing to grow through it. Right? There was this amazing acronym that one of my friends gave me, and she said, fear, she said, and I'll pardon you the F word for this particular occasion. But she said, fear can be F everything and run, F everything and run, or it can be face everything and rise. And I was like, boom. I just love that so much, because really we got to face our feelings. We got to face all of it, and then we can rise above it and move through it. The heart, the thing about grief and about feelings is the more we avoid them, the louder they get. So if you think about a baby crying in the room, they're like, I want your help. Even if they're crying, meh, meh, and we ignore, it gets louder. Meh, meh. It gets louder and louder and louder until finally we're like, God, you're so annoying, right? But if we just went in, said, hey, what's up? Right? If we look at our feelings, if we listen to our body, right? It doesn't have to scream at us. So self-compassion, take care of yourself, give yourself the benefit of the doubt that you want other people to give you. You have to do it for you. And then other people will rise to the occasion. So that's really what I have to share today. I don't know what our timing is, but that is really the key to my message is love yourself, give yourself the compassion, relate kindly to yourself so that you can do that for other people in your life, and that you can lead by example for the people who are watching you and wondering, how can I do this? How can I get through this? So thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do a little screen share here. By the end of this, I'm going to be just a complete expert at it. So Laura, thank you for being here with us today and sharing your wisdom and your compassion for the world and how we all see the world. This is a certificate of appreciation. The World United proudly presents to Laura Schiff Jack for being an esteemed presenter in the 3rd edition of the World Parliament on Spirituality 2020 for North America.